Magnus Carlsen, at only 12 years old, spotted a brilliant move in this position. There's only one move that's winning. Queen takes 7. I'll show you it later, but it's a brilliant move at only 12 years old, playing against Tor in a tournament in Norway. It starts off Magnus playing 4. We have a French defense, normal variation, and now his opponent plays this very odd move, knight to f6 here. Normally you don't want a knight targeted on the 4th move of the game because you have to move now, and you don't want to move your piece that often so early. However, in the French defense, you only reroute your knight because this knight doesn't really have anywhere to go because this is the normal pawn setup and you have c5 here. But yeah, this knight really has nowhere to go. So sometimes you'll go knight h6, sometimes you'll go here. You almost never play knight h6 here, but you get the point. This knight kind of has a hard time developing the French defense, so he decides to play knight here and drop back, which technically loses tempo, and Magnus takes advantage of it. Being that only 12 years old, he's still so good at chess. We have c5 and c7, and knight c6 here by 4, and bishop developing, queen comes out, targeting this pawn. It is normal theory, but this queen is going to become a target later in the game. We have castles Magnus, pawn takes in the center, relieving the tension of these pawns. We have Magnus taking back. His opponent thinks it's just a free pawn, so he trades down the piece of minor pieces and everything, and he's up a pawn. So he is up a pawn versus Magnus Carlsen, not 12 elo, but 12 years old. Now, Magnus playing knight f6, defending his pawn, defending his bishop with the queen, and attacking the queen. Very, very good move here. It's a multi-purposeful move. He drops his queen, and Magnus now plays queen to a4. Hitting this knight, it's pinned now, and yeah, so his opponent tries to trade queens, but Magnus decides not to trade queens. His opponent says again, he says, hey, let's trade queens. You take back. He takes back with the bishop, and he's developing more. He says, I don't want you to develop more. So he realizes that his queen is also going to be a target in the future. So he allows his opponent to develop, and Magnus develops with a tempo because he now has to move his queen or push this pawn. But then if he pushes the pawn, he'd just lose it immediately. So he's obviously not going to push the pawn. He's got his queen. He plays it to a5. Now we have Magnus bringing his bishop out. Isn't really the best idea because you don't want to move your bishop too much in the opening. Although he did win a tempo with it, he kind of gave it right back, right? So the best move was a3 or like rook fc1. So like one of these moves, taking the open file with the rook, which he can obviously do later in the game too. Wasn't even a bad move, it's just not optimal. So we have queen drops back. This also isn't the best move in the position, so Max takes advantage of it by trying to trade off the bishops, and that's what happens. He trades off a pair of bishops. Now they have one pawn for Tor still. He's still up a pawn. He's still carrying that advantage. Magnus's position is just going to keep on getting better. After queen to e7, we have Magnus playing rook c1. I think the computer wanted the other rook here, and then like pawn forward or something. Really interesting. And now, after h6 is the position I was showing you at the start of this, where Magnus plays queen take a7. Now, if you take my queen, I'm going to take here. So I'll just go back for you to see. I'll take your bishop, and now your only move is to block with the queen. You can't move anywhere with the king, so you have to block the king, or the queen. Now you take rook, takes, and then have a fork. So that is not good because you're just going to be down, like, you're going to be down a piece at that point. So you realize, okay, I obviously can't take your queen here because then I lose everything. So he moves his rook to the side, defended by the knight. It looks okay, but Magnus takes it anyways. And now, after the knight takes, which is what happened in the game, Magnus takes the bishop on c8. Now king goes forwards because the knight moved out of the way, so now the king actually has a square to go. But then Magnus just takes the rook, and now he's just up 4 points of material somehow. And the queen a7 move I would have never seen. And he saw this at 12 years old. Like, I literally cannot believe it. So now we have knight out, knight drops back, finally relieving this tension. This knight was like hanging. Look at that. After h6, that was a lot of moves. Hanging. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he finally moves it back, like on the fifth move of it being hanging. So we have f6 now, bishop to b5, pinning the knight here, so it's not actually defending the pawn, but he just takes anyways. And now takes back, he takes with check now. Magnus gets his knight targeted, so he either needs to defend it or move his knight out of the way. He decides to defend it. His opponent just moves his king for some reason. I don't know what he was thinking here. We have g3 by Magnus, and queen to b4, targeting the rook, targeting this pawn. I literally cannot draw arrows. We rook to e2, defending the pawn, moving the rook out of d4 by his opponent, which is a blunder. Now Magnus has rook to d8. We have knight takes c6, forking queen and king in this position now. It's completely lost, and he obviously doesn't take the free rook that was given to him. You have to one move further. He plays queen to b5, targeting here, so you can't move your rook off of this side because then you'll just take the knight, and it's a little bit closer. But he finds the only winning move, rook to d7. I think everything else was drawing. And now opponent plays king down, still attacking this rook. So maybe with ideas like this, but then you're still losing. And he plays rook to e4, and now after c5 and rook to f4, you're threatening checkmate here. So there's nothing really that black can do because the rook's defended by the knight, and he just sacrifices the queen for the rook, and now this is just up a rook in the endgame, and his opponent resigns in this position. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.